Hello. Hoping there might be some people here. I'm afraid today it's just me. Barbara is winging her way to Japan, lucky her, where she's away for a week and a bit. So she's left me, foolishly, some may say, in charge. So here we go. It's just me and you guys. Lovely, lovely, lovely. If you do pop on, obviously say hello. What I'm going to do is I'm going to answer some more of your questions. So keep the questions coming. Remember, this is such an amazing opportunity to have your questions answered that you're not going to get in many other places. So do make sure you make the most of it. I'm just switching my phone off, double checking for any other questions. Can't see any at the moment. Hi Nicole, how are you? I hope you are well. I think it's just us today, which is fine. I'm sure there'll be plenty of people on catch up. So just going to go through a couple of questions. So one of them was from Demi about barking incessantly when it's time to go walking. Two of the dogs setting each other off, and I think this is probably something that an awful lot of us can relate to. And here's the thing: dogs are creatures of prediction. They're always predicting and looking for patterns in life, and they will have their natural patterns that they naturally work with. And then they have patterns that they notice. So there will be times of day when we tend to do the same thing, like go for a walk or whatever, and they'll know when that's coming. And then there are other patterns, like the things that we do when we're getting ready to go for a walk. And there are the obvious things like picking up the lead, picking up the harness, all those kind of stuff. But then there are other things as well, like picking up your door keys, putting your shoes on, going, right, time for a walk. All those kind of things. And all of that is each time it's filling that bucket. It's predicting that walk. It's making the anticipation like mad. Now, whether your dog is a dog that gets super excited on walks and has the best time ever, or whether your dog is a little bit reactive and can get anxious when they're on a walk, or a combination of the two, which is also perfectly normal, doesn't really matter. It's that heightened arousal. It's that prediction of the arousal going up. And that's why they go bananas when it's time for a walk. So what are we going to do about it? Well, the best thing to do is to try and break down that prediction chain a little bit. So you could do things like put the harness and lead on and then do some training in the house and then stop. You could pick up your car keys and then go and sit down and watch telly. So think about all the little mini triggers that your dog might have that you're about to go for a walk and then don't go for the walk. Do something else instead. As I say, some nice calm training is a good idea, just chilling out. Now, initially, you might feel like a little bit of a meanie. So I would do something nice and calming. So you could, give them a long-lasting chew, because we don't want to damage their confidence. We don't want to make them feel sad. We don't want any of those bad things. So do something nice, do something together, but make sure it's something calm and quite low arousal. And then you can kind of break that prediction chain. Yay, we got some more people on. So I've got Carmela, hello. I've got Sue, hi. LJ, hello. Oh, do you know, I feel like I haven't seen you in ages, LJ. So I said earlier, Barbara is probably on a plane as we speak on her way to Japan, where she's going for a little while. And I am so jealous because she's jetted off to Japan today. And the other thing that's happening in Japan today is the start of the latest sumo tournament. And I do like a sumo tournament. So I am so jealous. And I'd also love to go to Japan, and I've never been. So anyway. And she's left me all by myself, so I'm a little bit lonely. But at least I've got you guys to talk to, which is pretty cool. So, Demi, I hope that helps with your question. Um, yeah, so I hope that's a little bit helpful for you. So, another question is Beth. So, she's got two questions actually. One is a lurk barking in the house without making yourself a prisoner in your home, covering windows, playing background noise that's too loud or annoying for this human if it's to be helpful to the dogs. That's the first question. And Beth, I'm afraid I don't have very good news. Management, which is what you're talking about, is always going to be part of the plan. Always. We need to give our dogs a break. So, alternative things that you could do that might work for you. I'm just trying to think of things that might be better, is maybe keeping the dogs in a particular part of the house where they're less likely to react so that you can then have access to the outside. You could try different types of music or white noise, all that kind of thing. You could actually, another thing you can try is putting a fan on, aiming it towards the wall to disrupt the sound waves coming in a little bit. That might be useful too. But yeah, unfortunately, there's no magic wand. I wish there was. But the good news is that the management isn't going to be forever. So it's about giving your dogs a break. And it's about then working on other things with your dogs to help them with that reactivity. So things like our Finding Your Footing course will be really good for that kind of thing and to get you started. But yeah, it is always going to be part of it. Sometimes we have to be a little bit creative. Is there another way you could prevent your dogs from getting access to looking outside using barriers, for example? It's going to be whatever kind of works for you. So I know that's not probably what you wanted to hear, but it is what it is. And the other one is loose leash walking, taking great behavior inside and transitioning into the wild. And I am hearing you 100%. You know, dogs are not, they're very contextual. So, and it's why sometimes going to like training classes isn't always as effective as you'd like, because you get a dog that learns to do lots of exciting things in the training area, and then you go outside and they can't do any of it. So if you're practicing, you know, loose leash walking in whatever way inside, that's a brilliant idea. It gets into really nice habits. So in order to then transition that, we need to do a few things. So one of them would be to practice in as many different locations in the house as possible, even if you're walking, you know, into the bathroom and out again, or if you've got a backyard, if you're walking in the backyard, doing that kind of thing. You might then start doing things like walking towards the door as if you're going to go out and then coming back again. Can your dog do that? And I would also teach your dog to do something like paws up. So putting their front feet onto an object, something you can move around. I use like a yoga block type thing. It's one of the flat but wider ones for my dogs. And then I'll do things like go to the front door. Can they do a paws up by the front door? Because that's often where the brain has left the head and they can't start thinking again. So if they can't do it there, take it back a step. So this is all about, you know, making sure that brain stays in the head. Then I would have two paws up objects, one inside the house, one outside the house. The other thing that you could do this with is if you've got a chill zone or can't remember what else they're called, a boundary of some description. So you've got a settle on a bed. If you could have two locations with a settle, or one settle location and a paws up location, put one just inside the door and one just outside, and move your dog from one to the other. So it's kind of creating a little bit of a bridge between inside and outside. That's one of my favorites. And then you could maybe start doing your loose leash walking. So you start in the house, you go outside for a second, then you come back in again. So it's about gradually moving on. When you do want to go outside completely, I would do some paws ups, or some hand touches. Those are quite good. Any behaviours that your dog really enjoys doing. So quite regularly do a little check-in with them to do that. And if they start pulling, you know you've taken it too far and you want to go back. I mean, to be fair, if you've got a dog that's enjoying life and having a jolly lovely time, there's always going to be a small element of pulling occasionally. So, you know, they have smell to smell over there and they would really like to go and sniff it. You might get a little bit of a, oh, I want to go and sniff it. And then they'll go, oh, hang on, I'm on my lead, I can't do that. So, you know, be realistic. Allow your dogs to sniff, maybe do a go sniff cue. Allow them to be dogs. We're not looking for a tight heel position. It's not great for our dogs, that in terms of how they move and what it does to their body. So that's not what we're kind of looking for. But having that loose leash, you're absolutely right, is useful for all of us, really, for our dogs and for us. So you're practicing at home is great. Start changing the locations. Have an anchor, so something like a paws up would be really good. Move closer and closer to where you go outside. Then do a little bit where some's inside and some's outside. I think that is what I would do. Right, just popping in to see if there's any comments. Can't see any at the moment. Lovely jubbly. Do feel free to put any questions that you've got. Oh, I think we did that question, didn't we, last time? We forgot to delete the questions that we answered last time, which is a bit daft. Okie dokie. So yeah, if you have any questions on here, do let me know. So Teresa has a dog that's reactive in the car, and when something, and she hasn't figured out what is outside. And we do have quite a lot of people with dogs that are reactive in the car and really struggling. So if you can, try and block as much visual access out of the car. Obviously not the windscreen, not your side, your driver's door, anything like that. And think about where your dog is. So say you've got your dog crated in your car, you could maybe cover the crate. That can sometimes be super duper helpful and really useful for them. And then I'd start breaking down the car journey and see what's happening. So do things like get your dog in the car and just sit in it and don't do anything. Maybe you could give your dog a long-lasting chew to have while you're in the car. So what we're doing is we're starting to create the car as being a space where you're calm and a space where you're relaxed, rather than a space when you're like, so you can start doing that. Are they barking because they got that association with the car? So what we're trying to do is we're trying to take away the car as being part of the problem. The rest of their problem is going to be a lot of it about dealing with things that are triggers, whether they're in the car or not. Now, the issue that you've got when you're in the car is that you're moving. So when you're moving, your dog sees a thing that triggers them. They start barking at it to say, actually, I need you to go away. They're trying to create space. And of course, because you're moving, the trigger then does go away. So they're being reinforced all the time. So that's why we need to try and minimize that visual access as much as possible. Because if that behavior is reinforcing, so if they see a trigger, they want it to go away, they bark at it and it does go away, the more that happens, the more ingrained this behavior of barking at a thing out of the window is going to be. So that's the absolute key for that, actually, is preventing visual access. If you still have barking in the car when there's no visual access, then the issue is with the something intrinsic in the car as opposed to something that they can see outside. So you might start building up car journeys very gradually, have car journeys where you go round the block and back home again, make them boring. A lot of the time our dogs, when they're in the car, they're about to go to the park, or they're going to the beach, or they're doing something exciting, or they're going to the groomers, or they're going to the vets, or something that they maybe don't like as much. So going in the car has lots of connotations. So we need to start turning that around. But I think between those two things, we should be there or thereabouts. Just checking. So Carmela said, Hobbs is ball obsessed. If he can't find a ball, he'll pick up anything for him to throw. Oh my goodness me. how do I start breaking that little pattern? I mean, again, we need to be looking at some management, and I would try doing some walks where there aren't any things for him to throw. Um, and it's, hang on, just having a look. So you got access to 24 acres of wild land. Amazing. So I think what I would do is I would be looking at teaching a proper retrieve, actually, so that instead of throwing it, you're getting him to bring you a thing, and then you're going, oh, thank you very much for the thing. And then he's giving it to you. So if you've got that drop, then it's not so much an issue. Plus, then you can reduce the kind of the dopamine hit of the ball throw part by just, just saying thank you for that. And then maybe you can then place the object and ask them to retrieve it. So I think that's probably what I would do, is I would work on a nice retrieve. I would also be working on something like Susan Garrett's It's Your Choice strategy. So that impulse control, that you don't just get things because you want them. And I would be doing that with the sort of things that he's picking up. So I'm guessing it might be sticks or pine cones or clods of dirt or anything. So actually start using the things that he might want to pick up. I think that's where I'd start. But yeah, let us know. So teach retrieve, look at some impulse control stuff, actually using the sorts of things that he likes to pick up. I would start doing it using food so he gets the idea, and then start increasing and start as to the things that he's wanting to pick up. So start at home, similarly to when I talked about the transitioning, the loose leash walking from inside to outside. Do it in lots and lots of different places, in the house, in the garden, blah, 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 blah. Because when you go out to the wild land, if he's rehearsed that a lot, he's going to be thinking, I need to do this more and more. You might need to do a little bit of controlling and management with putting him on lead and stuff, just to help him relearn to do something else. So you do gun dog work, so you've got you should have a lovely retrieve then. Brilliant. So I would go to that place, and I would do some of do a nice retrieve with him. So he's still getting that. It seems to me that he wants that feedback of carrying things. So if you can do the carrying the thing without the, as I say, the throwing and the legging it after it and the doing your head in bit, so you've got a little bit more control over it, I think that would be a really cool idea. You could also do a lovely find it game with some of your retrieve things. So if you go out beforehand, hide something, and then see if you can find it, that would be super fun. Be interested to know how you get on with that, because that would be really good. Right, I have one more question on the list. Confidence with strangers. Yep. Okay, so there's two parts from Nancy here. Confidence with strangers, and I assume that's everywhere. And then for another dog, reactivity to stranger coming to the house. Okay, so where shall I start? Reactivity when you're out and about, or confidence when you're out and about, is going to be about general confidence building. I would use things like ACE Free Work for that. You've got access to that because you've got access to the reboot. So you've got access to some of that. I'd have a look at that. Do a lot of things like free work, that kind of thing. That's all about building up confidence. And I tend to use that strategy for strangers coming to the house as well. So if you know somebody's coming, and preferably you don't want strangers coming to the house without telling you. So training your visitors is a really good idea. So if you know somebody's coming, set up a really nice free work activity. So lots of snuffle mat, lick mats. Make sure they're at a good height for your dog. All those kind of things. And get your dog really searching. Now, most dogs will be able to do that if it's set up well for around about 15 to 20 minutes. So that will give them something to do that's not then focusing on the human. So the way I do it is I have the dogs out of the way. I've set up my free work setup. I let my person in. I instruct them to ignore my dog. They can then sit down. The dog can then do the free work setup. They can go and explore at their own pace. They can go near to the person, to the stranger, as and when they please. They can get information by sniffing their feet if they want to, but the person isn't going to respond. They're not going to interact with your dog at all. This is all about your dog's choices. And, try to, kindly, gently, obviously, say to the person that's coming in, don't touch my dog until I tell you that that's okay. And then look for your dog's cues. So just because your dog is gone up to the person, is sniffing them, that's not permission for them to stroke them. You're looking for a more obvious cue than that. And it might be never stroke your dog. That's absolutely fine. I'll give you an example, actually, of something that happened yesterday. Was it yesterday? No, Saturday. And we went to the beach. And there was a really nice couple with a couple of Dachshund crosses who were evidently reactive. So we gave them a wide berth. They said, thank you. Anyway, we ended up chatting at a distance because they were working with a behaviourist near where they lived, which is sort of further north of me. I didn't even ask who it was. I wish I had, because it sounded like they were they got a really good person there on board. Because they were saying like lots of all the right things about emotions and feelings and all the sort of stuff that we talk about. Anyway, the bloke asked if he could say hello to my dogs. So I said, well, you can say hello to Dash, but could you just ignore Hattie? And so he did, and it was so sweet because he used lots of really encouraging body language. So he got down nice and low. He wasn't looking anybody in the eyes. He was touching Dash in appropriate places, all that kind of stuff. Dash was thinking, oh, can I just go home with you? I love you. And after about 5 minutes or so of that, Hattie then went over of her own accord and gave him a good sniff. He ignored her. She came away. And then she went back and she put her head right under his hand. That was a fairly obvious, I think I want to be involved here sign. And it was just really, really beautiful. And I know, Nancy, you said that your one dog doesn't take the cues from your older dog. But I would still be just allowing them to watch your younger dog to watch what's happening with these stranger interactions, because eventually you'll get something like I did with Hattie. And that's the first time she's done that in a lot of years, actually, since she's really been struggling with her back and her pain in her back. So, yeah, I think that was what I would do. Definitely. Great. Well, lovely to see you all, or not, or for you to be there and for me to be here. I think we're starting to get the hang of the clock changes now. I know we're all wishing Barbara a super lovely time in Japan. I can't wait to hear what she's got up to when she gets back. Do please put any more questions that you think of anytime in the group. That's what we are going to try and make this as our focus. Or if there's a topic you want us to talk about, pop that in the group or drop us a message or an email. And I think it will be just me again next week. I'm not quite sure what I'm going to be doing next week, but we shall see. I'll either be here or I won't, but I will definitely let you know. But thanks for popping along, and I'll see you all soon.